Catherine Macaulay decided that the ministry in Ireland was robust, but there was also something happening in America. The Irish were immigrating in large numbers to America, and there was this vision apparently that the community would carry out its work not only in Ireland but across the sea. So Catherine sent her, I guess, first lieutenant, whatever you want to call her, Frances Ward, to America, to Pittsburgh.
They were met in New York by the new Bishop of Chicago, William Porter, and he supposedly wanted them to spare a couple sisters to take with him to Chicago when he was going out there.
Frances Xavier Ward, of course, said, "In time, Father, in time." And they came to Chicago 3 years later.
When they arrived in 1846, they immediately set to work.
They had ingenuity, energy, and perseverance without limits. And that spirit is what made them leave Ireland, come to the U.S., leave Pittsburgh, come to Chicago, and establish the first hospital in Chicago, establish St. Xavier Academy, establish the first orphanage in Chicago, all within the first 10 years they were here, and some of them didn't even live those 10 years to see the fruits of their efforts.
The Academy's origins were something of a surprise.
A pay academy school was not necessarily in their mission, but a lot of communities like the Mercies, who were active sisters, ended up starting academy schools because it brought in income.
It was meant for people who were not of the upper class. It was meant to be people, who needed an education and needed to be raised.
Soon they find that the people who are attending are the daughters of wealthy Protestants, because it's an attractive education for parents to send their daughters to a respectable convent education.
They were, for the most part, what we would today call first-generation college students. In the 1840s, there was no organized public high school system in the city of Chicago. The academy, the whole idea was to create an educated population.
You get a good education, solid, in terms of scholastics, but you also learn the finer things of life, languages, your sewing, and how to be a good companion in life.
But the sisters' path was never easy.
You got to think about Chicago in 1846. It's the frontier. There's no streets really. I mean, there's streets, but there's not paved. There's sidewalks or boards.
Their life must have been very hard. I mean, there were 5 sisters that came with Frances Ward. The majority of them, I think it was 4 out of the 5, were dead within 5 years from cholera because there was no decent water treatment facility in Chicago.
In addition to disease, the sisters also confronted hostility from Chicago's largely Protestant community.
In that time in the United States, there were many people who were averse to Catholics.
Protestants largely don't know what to expect of Catholics. I mean, they're Irish. The ones that they're encountering in the 1830s and 40s, they're largely poor Irish, Germans. They're not educated in the same way. So Irish Catholics, like the Sisters of Mercy, distrusted Protestants.
But the worst blow came in 1871 when the Chicago fire ravaged the city and burned St. Xavier Academy to the ground.
Well, the Chicago fire was obviously a devastating event, not only for the city of Chicago, but certainly for St. Xavier Academy and for the sisters.
They had to start all over again, and that's what was the first reason for the move to 49th and Cottage Grove.
Amazingly, they had had the foresight in the 1850s to acquire a farm, which was at the distant place from the city, 49th and Cottage Grove.
It was then and there that they'd begin again, and fortunately the sisters always had people who cared about them, who wanted to support the institution and contributed.